Every single April, something takes over Geneva. You can feel it. The entire city just shifts. The usually quiet lakeside streets start humming with this very specific energy. And if you're lucky enough to be inside the massive halls of the Palo Expo Convention Center, well, the air in there is just electric. It isn't just the thousands of people or the literal billions of dollars in watches sitting under one roof. It's the quiet. The hushed whispers you overhear in the hallways, the knowing glances between brand executives. It's this almost tangible sense that a whole year's worth of secret strategy is about to be unleashed. And that right there is the heart of it. This isn't really a trade show, not in the traditional sense. It's a battlefield. It's a chessboard, meticulously set, where every new release, every dial color, every single discontinued reference is a calculated move in a game that's been playing out for decades. And the scale of it all is staggering. I mean, you have to picture it. It's not just one event. You've got more than 250 brands showing their new stuff all across the city. You've got the main event, Watches and Wonders at Palo Expo. Then down the road, there's Time to Watches for the more accessible brands. You have the incredible independent makers at AHDI. It is this beautiful, chaotic, week-long whirlwind of watches. Honestly, it's almost overwhelming. But for all that beautiful noise, for all those brands fighting for a sliver of the spotlight, you learn very quickly that all eyes, all the real pressure is focused on just 3 booths: Rolex, Patek Philippe, and Audemars Piguet. They are the titans. They're the kings and queens on this board. And as those doors swing open on Watches and Wonders 2026, the entire industry is holding its breath, asking the exact same question: who is going to make the first move? Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to break down this incredible, high-stakes chess match that's about to play out. We'll look at the aggressive, offensive opening from Rolex, then we'll analyze the masterful game of defense from Patek Philippe, and finally, the wild card, the player who's been off the board for years and is suddenly, dramatically re-entering the game, Audemars Piguet. So let's start with the king, because Rolex doesn't just play the game. They practically are the game board. Their moves dictate the entire flow, forcing every other brand to react. And this year, it looks like they're starting with a classic, aggressive opening, what in chess you'd call a king's gambit, sacrificing a piece to gain a dominant position. And that first move, that sacrifice, it's a big one. The biggest rumor, the one that has the most weight behind it, is the discontinuation of the iconic steel GMT Master II, the reference 126710 BLRO, the one we all know as the Pepsi. Now, this isn't just some random forum chatter. The word is coming from multiple, very reliable sources that authorized dealers have just stopped receiving shipments. The watch is quietly vanishing from dealer websites. Now, Rolex, of course, is a vault. They never confirm anything at a time. But the signs, the signs are all there. They're taking one of their most popular, most sought-after pieces right off the board. And the market is already reacting as if it's gone for good. Look at the speed of this reaction. In just a couple of months, from January to March of this year, secondary market prices climbed by thousands of dollars. We are talking about a watch that has a retail price of around $11,000, maybe $12,000, that is now commanding well over $26,000. And some reports are saying that purchase requests on major platforms surged over 500%. I mean, that's just wild. That is panic buying. That is the market betting huge that the supply is about to be cut off permanently. But here's the thing about a Rolex gambit. They never just remove a piece from the board and leave a hole. They replace it with something just as powerful, if not more so. And the challenger waiting in the wings is a legend in its own right, the Coke GMT, the red and black bezel. For a whole generation of collectors, this isn't a replacement, it's a homecoming. The original, the defining colorway for the GMT Master II is making its long-rumored return. And you have to understand the historical weight here. The Coke wasn't just an option back in the day. For the very first GMT Master II from 1982, the reference 16760, the so-called Fat Lady, it was the only option. And now, after a 17-year absence, its return fits the classic Rolex playbook perfectly. They have the patent for producing a red and black ceramic bezel, and they'll almost certainly launch it in a precious metal first, probably white gold, just like they did with the new Pepsi, before a steel version follows a year or two later. It's a powerful, nostalgic, and strategically flawless move. But here's where it gets really clever. This isn't just a one-for-one swap. While the entire watch world is obsessing over the GMT, Rolex is quietly preparing a second, much more surprising move on another part of the board, a flank attack. And that move is the return of the Milgauss. Now, normally, I'd tell you to ignore the anniversary. Rolex let the Submariner's 70th pass without so much as a whisper. But this one's different. You see, Rolex quietly discontinued the Milgauss in 2023, clearing the stage. And, crucially, the technology has finally caught up to the watch's original purpose. Their new Dynapulse escapement is inherently resistant to magnetism. What that means is they can build a new Milgauss without the thick, soft iron inner case that the old one needed. And the result? A thinner, more wearable, and technically superior Milgauss that has a genuine reason to exist again. That's not a birthday party, that's a proper technical evolution. All right, so let's shift our focus. We're moving from the king's aggressive opening to a much more delicate, a much more philosophical game of defense. Let's talk about our second player, Patek Philippe. If Rolex's position is pure offense, Patek's is one of masterful, almost surgical defense. They are facing what might just be the trickiest anniversary celebration in the entire industry. 50, the Nautilus. Gérald Genta's masterpiece, famously born from a sketch on a napkin back in 1976, is turning 50 years old. I mean, this is a monumental milestone for one of the most important, most influential watch designs of all time. It should be a simple celebration, right? A party. But that's the conflict, right? This is the central problem for Patek. They just spent the better part of 5 years extinguishing the speculative firestorm around the steel 5711. They killed it, they did the Farewell Green and Tiffany Blue editions, they even launched a new Aquanaut to try and redirect all that demand. A big anniversary celebration, especially some new steel model, would be like pouring gasoline on the very embers they just stamped out. It risks undoing years of careful, painstaking brand management. And the brand's CEO, Thierry Stern, has been completely, totally unequivocal on this point. He has made it crystal clear, in no uncertain terms. The door to a simple steel re-release is not just closed, it is locked, bolted, and the key has been thrown away. That chapter, in his words, is over. So, if steel is off the table, what's the move? The answer is a classic Patek solution. First, you make it in precious metal only. Platinum or white gold. That immediately raises the price point out of the reach of speculators and targets true high-end collectors. Second, you elevate it. Give it a high complication, a perpetual calendar, a chronograph, something. This reinforces the idea that the Nautilus is about Patek's technical mastery, not just an iconic design. Third, you control production with an iron fist, a limited, symbolic number, maybe 1,976 pieces to mark the birth year. And finally, you don't even release it at Watches and Wonders, you do it on your own terms, at your own event, like their grand exhibition in Milan later this year. It's a strategy of total control. It's a masterclass in defending legacy over hype. So we have Rolex on the attack, Patek on a calculated defense, and that brings us to our third player, the wild card, the one who's been off the board entirely for years. Audemars Piguet isn't attacking or defending. They are re-entering the game after a long, long absence, and frankly, nobody is quite sure what their strategy is going to be. 6. They've been gone for 6 years. Just think about that for a second. They left the formal fair system way back in 2019. They said they wanted to focus on their own, more intimate AP house events, to build more direct-to-collector relationships. They walked away from the biggest stage in the entire industry. And in the watch world, 6 years is an eternity. I mean, just think of the trends, the new materials, the new brands that have shot to prominence since 2019. To be away from that central stage, from that main conversation, for that long, it just builds an enormous amount of pressure. You can't just come back quietly. Your return has to be a statement. So the huge question for AP is, what's your opening line? We've seen some of the opening remarks. The new jumping hour complication is technically incredible, and that malachite dial royal oak we saw on Bad Bunny's wrist is just stunning. But those feel like the prelude. The community, the collectors, we're all waiting for the main event. What's the real surprise? Because the pressure is squarely on them to deliver something that justifies this big comeback. After you've built an entire strategy around exclusivity and intimacy, rejoining the circus of a major trade show demands a true showstopper. It has to be a statement piece, a brand new complication, a breakthrough in materials, something that goes way beyond a new dial color and makes everyone in that hall stop in their tracks and say, okay, that's why they're back. Okay, so there you have it. That's the board, a three-way chess match playing out in real time in Geneva. So let's step back, analyze these moves, and really think about what they mean for the market, for us collectors, and for the future of these iconic brands. So let's recap the state of play. You've got Rolex on the attack, making a powerful two-pronged move that brilliantly combines pure, uncut nostalgia with genuine technical advancement. Then you have Patek Philippe, executing a perfect defensive maneuver, a masterclass in protecting its most valuable asset by making it even more exclusive and difficult to obtain. And finally, you have Audemars Piguet. They are the thrilling unknown, the player returning to the board with the potential to completely upend the game with a single, spectacular surprise. Each of these plays is absolutely brilliant in its own way. They're all masterclasses in brand strategy. But if I have to pick the single most significant, most interesting move on the entire board, the one I'm really watching, it's the Milgauss. And here's why. The Coke GMT is an amazing, highly anticipated move, but at its core, it's a brilliant color change. The Patek anniversary piece will be beautiful and controlled, but it's a defensive play born out of necessity. The Milgauss, though, that represents a real, tangible technical evolution. It's a watch being brought back because new movement technology allows it to be better than it was before. It solves the biggest problem of the original, its thickness, its bulk. And it reintroduces one of Rolex's quirkiest, most beloved and unique designs with that iconic lightning bolt seconds hand and the green sapphire crystal. It's a perfect blend of history and progress, a truly clever move that was hiding in plain sight this whole time. That's why, for me, it's the checkmate move of Watches and Wonders 2026. So, what's the final board position? A high-stakes chess match in Geneva saw Rolex make a bold offensive move, Patek mount a masterful defense of its legacy, and Audemars Piguet return as the ultimate wildcard. These strategic plays are going to define the watch market for years to come. You know, it's a fascinating echo of the last time these brands were locked in such a direct design battle, back in the 1970s with the original Nautilus and the Royal Oak. But that is a story for another time. For now, the question is, which move on this board impressed you the most? What watch from this story would you pick? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe. New watch stories every week. Watch everything. Take drop.